You see, pride is our attempt to be equal with God. And it is so subtle we can have it and not even know we have it. We may be prideful that we're a good parent. We may be prideful of our success or proud of our health. Pride deceives our hearts. Well, it deceived their hearts. They said, nobody can bring us down. You see, they were high and lofty, but God does say pride comes before a fall. That's the second thing we need to learn about pride. It first deceives our heart, and then it comes before a fall. And he said, who will bring you down? I will bring you down. You see, they lived in Mount Seir. Mount Seir was this rocky, high area of cliffs with sheer drop-offs and plains with just a little narrow path that went up to where they lived. They thought, an enemy can't come marching in here without us seeing them. We are safe. We're high. It's like we're up with the birds, up with the stars. No one can bring us down. They felt safe and secure in their spot without God. And God says, I will bring you down. God would bring them down. He even tells us the extent of their fall. In the next verses, he says, thieves don't steal everything when they steal, and grape gatherers don't pick all the grapes. They leave some gleanings, but your destruction will be total. And then he even tells them how they will be destroyed. He says God will use their allies. You see, God intended for all men to trust Him for their protection. But this was a small country, and they thought, well, they don't have a big army, they can't protect themselves, they need to make alliances. Verse 7 says, all the men allied with you, the men at peace with you, will deceive you and overpower you. They will set an ambush for you. So God says the very thing that they were trusting to protect them will be the thing He will use to destroy them. And the interesting thing is, in 586, they made an alliance with Babylon. Along with Babylon, they were the ones who attacked Judah and carried away the exiles into captivity. It wasn't 5 years until Babylon turned on Edom and conquered them. God said He would use their allies, and He did. The third thing we need to learn, besides the fact that pride deceives our hearts and pride comes before a fall, is that pride will cause conflict in relationships. Pride caused conflict between these brother nations. Verse 10 tells us specifically what some of the conflict was. First of all, they were violent to their brother. And he said, because of that, you will be cut off. The second thing they did was they stood aloof on the day that strangers carried off Jacob's wealth. And he says, you two were as one of them. You know, I think this is a good principle to teach your children, because enemies came in and carried off Israel's wealth, their brother's wealth, and they didn't do anything about it. They just stood and watched. And God says you were as one of them. Bob always says he never stole a hubcap as a young man, but he was with people who did. And according to God, he was just as guilty because he didn't do anything about it. Not only did they stand and watch their brother's pain, but verse 12 says they gloated over his misfortune. They rejoiced over his destruction. They boasted over his distress. They're not only not doing anything to help, but they're enjoying their brother's pain. The next thing they do is they do start looting the wealth themselves, and the final thing they do is when the people of Judah are trying to flee the enemy, they either cut them down and kill them, or they imprison the survivors. So they started out just not helping then they start enjoying, and then they start adding to their brother's pain. Remember we said that pride is the source of all other sins? Look at the long list of sins we've just seen that started with pride. God says there's a solution, verse 15. The day of the Lord draws near on all nations. We've heard that day of the Lord before. But the day of the Lord is the time when God makes things right. And the first thing we read about it in verse 15 is, and this is our memory verse, he says, as you have done, it will be done to you. Your dealings will return on your own head. The day of the Lord is a day of retribution. What you have done will be done to you. Now that's not a principle only of the Old Testament. We find in the New Testament, you reap what you sow. And this idea is all through the Bible. Remember, Pharaoh tried to kill all the babies in Moses' time by drowning them. And then God drowned his army in a Red Sea. Retribution. It's a day of retribution. But he also, I guess that could be good news too. You think of it as bad news, but if I do good, as you have done, it will be done to you. Verse 16 says, just as you drank on my holy mountain, all nations will drink and become as if they had never existed. The day of the Lord is a day when all nations will be judged. We've already read that in Isaiah and many of the other books. Verse 17 says, but on Mount Zion, that's Jerusalem, there will be those who escape, and it will be holy. You see, this is not only a day of retribution, it's a day of deliverance. God is going to deliver a remnant of Jerusalem and make Jerusalem a holy city once more. He says they will possess their possessions. They'll possess the possessions of their enemies. Fact is, verses 19 and 20 list all the land that Israel will possess at this time. The land of Esau, the land of the Philistines, on and on. Land that Israel has never possessed to this point, but will when the day of the Lord comes. Verse 18 says that the house of Jacob would be fire, but the house of Esau would be stubble. They would be set on fire and consumed, so that there would be no survivor in the house of Esau, for the Lord has spoken. You know, Babylon did conquer the Edomites in 581 BC. In 120 BC, the Greeks weakened them, and in 70 AD, the Romans destroyed them. There is no Edomite today. Even their city of Petra, their grand city, is ruins to this very day. Why? Because God said so. He said there will be no survivor in the house, and the Lord has spoken. You can count on it. The day of the Lord will be a day of retribution, a day of deliverance for Israel. They'll possess their enemies' possessions. They'll live in all the land. Verse 21 says, the deliverers will ascend Mount Zion to judge the mountain of Esau, and the kingdom will be the Lord's. This will be a time where God will rule and reign. The kingdom will be the Lord's. I think that this is where Jesus is concealed in this book, because Revelation 11 says the kingdom of this world has become the kingdom of our Lord and his Christ, and he shall reign forever and ever. So Jesus will reign and rule. The kingdom will be his. The day is coming. You know, this conflict came right down to Jesus' day. Jesus descended from Jacob. We know Jacob had a son, Judah, and on down we come to Jesus. But when you follow the line of the Edomites come down to the Herods. When Jesus was born, King Herod the Great was the one who tried to kill the babies in order to kill Jesus. And when Jesus grew up, it was Herod Antipas who tried to kill the adult Jesus. Family feuds can last a long time, can't they? I realized that my father's family feud actually does impact me because I come from a very small family. We're small enough we could have our family reunions in one of those Volkswagen bugs. And yet, I have cousins in this world I have never met because of a family feud. Family feuds can start and end with us. Lots of application in this book for us, isn't there? First of all, I think it's calling for a heart check. Do I have pride? Lord, reveal any pride that's hidden to me because I can't see it. It is subtle. It's hard to see. But I now see that pride deceives my heart. And I don't want to be deceived. And pride leads to a fall, and I sure don't want to fall. And pride leads to conflict with my brothers, and I don't want that either. Pride can be defined as our attempt to be equal with God. Humility is acknowledging there's only one God, and it isn't me.